campus in New Rochelle.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Robert Baez, and I'm here with another edition of the Countout. And as you know, I am Iona College's voice of professional wrestling. Now, I just want to apologize for last week. I didn't do a show. It's not always the easiest to get here, but I try to do what I can. But I'm here this week, so let's get right down to business. So before I start, I just want to congratulate, of course, the Iona College men's and women's basketball teams for going dancing in March, making it to the NCAA tournament. Congratulations to both, and best of luck, of course. All right, so let's get started. So last week, as I just mentioned, I forgot to do a show, of course. But last week's Monday Night Raw it wasn't great. You know, from Nashville, Tennessee, you had, well, the matches themselves weren't really anything noteworthy, but a couple of key moments were when Vince McMahon introduced The Undertaker and he came out to give his reason why he was accepting the match with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. It was relatively underwhelming, but you know, it is what it is. He didn't really say much. And then there was the end of the night where Dean Ambrose had a match with Sheamus. The match, of course, ended in the no contest as Triple H came out and attacked him at the end. But that was last week's Raw. Now we're going to discuss this week's Monday Night Raw. So, this week's Monday Night Raw took place in Chicago, Illinois, which is normally a very, very hardcore wrestling town. You know, the fans are really, really rowdy. So, let's get right down to some of the highlights. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the opening segment, and that was with Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon. This is the first time Shane McMahon was back in 2 weeks, and he came out, gave a spiel about how talent is being held back and how Vince isn't doing a great job of running the company. You know, the typical stuff. And then Vince came out, and, you know, the McMahons having promos involving mostly family stuff. That tends to happen quite a lot. So, you know, that happened. And there was a particular moment in the promo when Vince McMahon actually had a picture of him and Shane when Shane was a child going to their first wrestling event, and he ended up throwing it on the ground, stomping on it, just completely breaking it. And that really was a great moment. The promo was excellent. And as you'll learn later on in this segment, the whole episode of Raw was really good this week. So now the second match, the first match I'm going to talk about is going to be Neville and Kevin Owens. And it wasn't the championship match. I think it was just a regular match, and it was an excellent match. It was a great way to start off the action on Monday Night Raw. Start off in terms of matches, of course. You know, lots of really cool spots. You know, for a minute it looked like Neville was actually gonna win it. You know, he did a really impressive shooting star press, which I thought was banned, but I guess not. I guess some people get away with it, and Neville was one of those guys. Great match, great pacing. You know, both of these guys, NXT standouts. And they proved it. They proved why the future of the WWE is looking really bright. Kevin Owens did win on a roll up, of course, because you know he's intercontinental champion. He can't, you know, just lose too often, because you know that wouldn't exactly make a whole lot of sense. So he won via roll up, and then once the match was over, Kevin Owens attacked Neville. Now the whole thing spilled out onto the outside. And then he was about to hit Neville with the powerbomb, and then the crowd erupted once they heard the theme song. Out came Sami Zayn. This is the first time we've seen Sami Zayn since last year in his match with John Cena because of his injury. Then he went back down to NXT. Now he's back in the main roster. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been feuding forever, whether it was in NXT, whether it was in whether it was in Ring of Honor, whatever promotion they were in. I don't 100% remember, but they've been having a feud for the longest, and it continues here in the WWE. So that right there is proving to add a little something to the Intercontinental Championship picture for WrestleMania, which I'm going to get to WrestleMania later on. So you have that. Then you have the Divas match, Brie Bella and Summer Rae. That match, I didn't really expect a whole lot from it, and good, because it wasn't really much to it. The one thing that the match, first of all, it was a really boring match. You know, It was kind of like an old Divas match. And one thing that was interesting was that Lana came out at the end to distract Brie Bella, and Summer ended up winning. And then Lana ended up attacking Brie Bella. So that will prove to be some sort of an indication of some sort of storyline between the two. All right, then we have the most boring group of wrestlers in the WWE right now, the League of Nations, going up against Dolph Ziggler, who personally I'm also getting a little tired of. Dolph Ziggler, he's just been too involved in like every single Raw and everything. It's just he's starting to get a little stale. I think he needs to take a break, but that's a story for another. That's a segment for another episode. It was a 3-on-1 handicap match. All the 3 members of the League of Nations, Wade Barrett, Sheamus, and Rusev, going up against Ziggler. And Ziggler lost. Wasn't really that close, really. It was an okay match, Obviously, the League of Nations won, obviously, because it's a handicap match. Ziggler, he got really, really decimated for most of the match, but that match was almost like filler because nothing really came out of it. It's just the League of Nations won. Not much to it. Then you have the second Divas match on the card, which was a tag team match between Naomi and Tamina, and they went up against Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. Now, the match was really short, but Tamina's really not that good of a wrestler, so you kind of expected it. If it was 4 really talented female wrestlers, you probably expected that, but it was a really short match, and then Charlotte, the Divas champion, eventually came out and attacked both of them, both Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. So that right there is starting to build up to their big WrestleMania match. Then you have, this is a match that I really want to talk about. It's the New Day versus what they called Y2AJ, which is Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. Now, this was the second really, really good match of the night. Obviously AJ Styles always delivers, Chris Jericho always delivers, and the New Day, they actually held up their end and actually put on a really good match. And it was for the tag team titles. Now, I kind of knew that Chris Jericho and AJ Styles weren't going to win. They're not going to have a title change on Raw. That's rare nowadays, And there's really no reason for New Day to lose the titles now anyway. So, yeah, that it was a really good match. So the New Day did end up winning. And after the match, Chris Jericho ended up, I can't say turning heel because he was already heel with AJ, in a feud with AJ Styles. So he didn't really turn heel. He just, I guess, amped up the heel action, or amped up his, I don't know. He amped up him being a heel. So he attacked AJ Styles once the match was over, hit him with 3 code breakers, and that will probably set up a match at WrestleMania. I honestly hope that their match is going to have some sort of special type of stipulation because they've already had 3 matches together, 3 really good matches, and I don't really know what else they can do. So it has to be some sort of stipulation, whether it be I doubt they're not going to have 2 Hell in a Cell matches on one pay-per-view. That's not going to happen. They can't really be a ladder match because neither one of them are champions. I don't know. It has to be some sort of special stipulation to make this match mean something because they've already had 3 matches. So, and also another thing about this match, it made New Day look legitimate. It made them look like, a legit tag team, like actual tag team champions, not like joke champions, which really wouldn't make any sense because they've had the titles for, on the night of the Raw, they had it for 197 days. So it makes them look like serious if they're able to beat AJ Styles and Chris Jericho, 2 of the greatest wrestlers, I guess you could say, in the world, really. I mean, sure, they're not really a tag team, but the fact that you're able to beat them still means that you're a legit tag team. Okay, then you had the United States. No, it wasn't a U.S. title match, but yeah, Kalisto going up against Tyler Breeze. Kalisto is U.S. champion, as you all know. Now, before the match started, there was a promo backstage where, Ryback was trying to give this whole motivational speech to Kalisto and whatnot, it's whatever. And Kalisto then, that was after Kalisto's match with Tyler Breeze, which he ended up winning. Nothing really much to it. It was kind of a match just to have the U.S. champion featured on the show. And to no surprise, Tyler Breeze lost. He's not really being well received by Vince, I assume, because he's just losing constantly. And I could actually say jobbing because he's not like a veteran who's been in the WWE for years. He's an up-and-comer, and he's still just losing every match just losing any possible match, so he's jobbing pretty much. I can't remember the last time he actually won a match, really. So then, the promo I mentioned came after that match with Ryback, Kalisto, whatever, Ryback giving his whole, motivational thing, Kalisto, and then Ryback had a match with one member of the Social Outcast, Curtis Axel, squash match. Ryback won, of course. There was a moment, actually, and this is the part where being in Chicago is really important. There was a moment where Ryback did like the high knee and then put like put the hands, like the two hands together to the side of his face to make it like go to sleep. That was obviously a call to CM Punk. And the Chicago fans, when they saw that, they immediately started chanting CM Punk, which, that was a really good move by Ryback. I'm actually really impressed with Ryback right now. More than usual, I should say. I shouldn't say really impressed, but, I'm actually more impressed with him now because, he's now, I'm impressed with him because he's actually, because he's a heel now, it actually makes a lot more sense for him to be a heel because he doesn't have like the baby face, look to him, and so he actually is wrestling wise, he actually is starting to get a little better, and of course, him being a heel, it makes him a little bit more entertaining. He'll never be like The Rock or he'll never be a Chris Jericho or anything, but I think it's a good move turning him heel. Now they haven't done the full turn yet, but from what I'm seeing, it's coming. Okay, so then you have the final match of the night, the main event, which was Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose. Now, this match was also, it's what you expect. It was a good match, of course. Bray Wyatt always puts on good matches, so does Dean Ambrose. And the match didn't actually finish. Disqualification caused it to end. And then once the match was over, all four Wyatt family members attacked Dean Ambrose. And then Triple H came out. As you know, Triple H is Dean Ambrose's opponent at the next live house show special. It's not really a pay-per-view, but it's a house show special. WWE Roadblock, which I'm going to talk about in the next segment. And he came out. It was ready to attack him. But first, you had the Wyatt family still in the ring. Bray had the whole face-to-face with Triple H. It made the fans really, it made them look like they really wanted to see something like that happen. Maybe in the future at some time, but not at WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt still doesn't have a match at WrestleMania, which is, a travesty. But you had him face off with Triple H. You had him, put his hands on like the title, like caressing it almost, and then they all left. So yeah, Triple H, he was getting ready to attack Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose hit him with his finishing move, the Dirty Deeds, and that got a pretty big pop from the Chicago crowd. So overall, this Monday Night Raw, the matches especially, were really, really good. And the reason probably that they stepped up their game for this Monday Night Raw, and they're probably going to step it up for next week's and the week after, is because they're going to the most hardcore wrestling fan base. Like, in terms of like the cities that they're in, these are the most hardcore wrestling fans you're going to get. They're in Chicago this week, then they're in Philadelphia the next week, and then on March 28th, they're going to be in Brooklyn. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, hardcore wrestling fans, most passionate, boisterous, loudest, and so they feel like they had to get Monday Night Raw right in order to get the Chicago crowd going, So this Monday Night Raw was really good. Knowing the Chicago crowd, they're probably still not even going to call it a great Raw, because I don't know, there was no fin, but I don't know, something, but I thought this Raw was really entertaining. The matches especially. Normally when a Raw nowadays is entertaining, it's usually because of promos, but the promos were good. The matches were excellent, especially the Neville Owens match, then the New Day Y2AJ match, and the main event. Those were all really good matches. So I just wanted to highlight that. So, I'm going to reiterate again, of course. Very good Monday Night Raw. I'll give it probably 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to sit here and just give it a 5. That's rare. I don't think you're going to really get that many 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, whatever scale you want to use. The type of Monday Night Raw is nowadays. But overall, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Very good Monday Night Raw. And this was really kind of like the build up to Roadblock, which is the house show special on Saturday in Toronto. So let's talk about that next segment. But I find it a little funny that they're calling it, I guess, the last pay-per-view was Fast Lane, then they're calling this Roadblock. So it's like you're on the Fast Lane, then a roadblock stops you on your road to WrestleMania. Hey, Triple H made fun of the marketing guys for the name last week, so I guess that's why. But anyway, that's what I have for this week's Monday Night Raw. Very good episode. So now in the next segment, I'm going to talk about the house show pay-per-view, not a pay-per-view, the house show live event special happening on the exclusively on the network on Saturday, WWE Roadblock. So if you're listening, stay tuned, and we will be right back.